I'm 58 years old, and I've spent most of my life believing that family is the thing you build when the world gets too cold. I built mine with my hands, with my patience, with my silence when silence seemed like the generous choice. I taught my children to tie their shoes, to drive, to balance a checkbook. I sat through recitals and graduations and weddings. I showed up. And on Christmas Eve, in the house I bought 32 years ago, my son told me to get out. Not in private, not in a hallway or a quiet moment over coffee. At the dinner table, in front of everyone. The turkey was still warm, the wine glasses were full, my daughter-in-law had brought some kind of kale salad that nobody touched, and my grandson was playing with his phone under the table, headphones in, ignoring all of us. My daughter sat at the far end, her face smooth and blank, the way it always looked when she was calculating something. Her husband sat next to her, chewing slowly, watching me. I'd noticed the looks earlier, the way my son and daughter exchanged glances when I mentioned needing to call the plumber next week. The way my daughter-in-law touched my son's wrist when I asked if anyone wanted more potatoes. Small things, the kind of things you ignore because acknowledging them means admitting something's wrong. But I felt it, a coldness in the room that had nothing to do with the weather. My son cleared his throat. He'd been drinking steadily since 4 in the afternoon, and his face had that flushed, tight look he got when he was working up to something. He set his fork down carefully, like he was placing a period at the end of a sentence. "Dad," he said, "we need to talk." I looked at him, waited. "This house," he said, "it's not really yours anymore." I didn't understand. Not at first. I thought maybe he was talking about the mortgage, which I'd paid off in 2003, or maybe some kind of joke I wasn't getting. "What do you mean?" I asked. He glanced at his sister. She nodded, just barely. "The deed," he said. "It's in my name now. Has been for 6 months." I felt something drop inside my chest. Not my heart. Something heavier. "You transferred the deed," I said slowly. "You signed the papers," my daughter said. Her voice was calm, pleasant, like she was explaining a recipe. "Back in June, don't you remember?" I did remember. I remembered signing something my son had brought over, something he'd said was just a tax document, estate planning, nothing urgent. He'd been in a hurry. I'd been distracted. I'd signed. I looked around the table. My daughter-in-law was staring at her plate. My son-in-law was smiling faintly. My grandson still had his headphones in. Nobody was surprised. "So this is mine now," my son said. "Legally. And we've been talking, me and Claire, and we think it's time for some changes." "Claire," my daughter. She was nodding. "This house is too big for you anyway," she said. "You don't need all this space. We found you a nice apartment. It's closer to the senior center. You'll be happier." I felt my hands go cold. "You want me to leave?" "We want you to be realistic," my son said. "You're not getting any younger. This place is a lot of work. And frankly, Dad, you've been letting it go. The yard's a mess. The gutters are full. It's embarrassing." "Embarrassing," I repeated. "For us," my daughter said. "When people drive by, when we have friends over, it reflects on us." I looked at my son. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "This place belongs to my daughter now," he said. "Claire and I have been discussing it. She's going to move in with her family. It makes sense. You don't need it. She does." "Your daughter," I said. "My daughter," he said. "Your granddaughter. Family." He said the word like it was supposed to mean something. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. "Get out of here," my son said. I didn't move. "Did you hear me?" he said. His voice was louder now. "Get out." I took a step back. My heel caught on the edge of the rug. I felt myself falling. Felt the floor rushing up. Felt my shoulder hit the hardwood with a crack that echoed through the dining room. I lay there, stunned. The ceiling above me was white, smooth, unmarked. I'd painted it myself 12 years ago. Nobody helped me up. I heard my daughter-in-law whisper something. My grandson laughed. A short, cruel sound. I rolled onto my side, pushed myself up with one hand. My shoulder throbbed. I got to my feet slowly, carefully. My son was still sitting, watching me with a kind of detached curiosity, like I was a stranger who'd wandered in off the street. I walked out of the dining room, down the hallway, past the pictures on the wall, the family photos, the smiling faces. I grabbed my coat from the closet and my keys from the bowl by the door. I left. The night was cold and clear. My car was parked in the driveway, blocked in by my son's SUV and my daughter's sedan. I stood there for a moment, looking at the house. The windows were bright. Inside, I could see shapes moving. They were clearing the table already, getting on with the evening. I walked to the street and started walking. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. The neighborhood was quiet. Most of the houses had lights on, trees lit up, wreaths on doors. I could hear laughter from somewhere, music, the sound of a party. I kept walking. I thought about the papers I'd signed, the ones my son had brought over in June. Casual, no big deal, just sign here, Dad. It's for taxes. I'd trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was my son. I thought about the looks they'd exchanged, the way my daughter had nodded, the way my son-in-law had smiled. They'd planned this, all of it. The dinner, the announcement, the humiliation. I stopped walking. I was standing in front of the elementary school, the one my kids had attended. The playground was dark, the swings hanging still in the cold air. I pulled out my phone. It was 8:30. I had 3 missed calls from my son. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I opened my email instead. I scrolled back. June. I found the message from my son, the one with the PDF attachment. Estate planning docs. Just need your signature. I opened it. Read it carefully this time. It wasn't a tax document. It was a quitclaim deed, transferring full ownership of the house to him. No money exchanged, no conditions, just a transfer. I'd signed away my home. I kept scrolling. May, April, March, there. An email from my daughter. Subject line, Dad's situation, sent to my son, CC'd to my son-in-law. I opened it. We need to move faster. He's getting suspicious. If we wait too long, he might talk to a lawyer. I think we should do it at Christmas, public setting. He won't make a scene. He never does. I read it again. Public setting. He won't make a scene. They knew me. They knew exactly how I'd react. I put my phone away. My hands were shaking. I started walking again. This time I had a destination. The public library was 2 miles away. It stayed open until 9 on weekdays, but tonight it was closed for the holiday. I didn't need to go inside anyway. I just needed the Wi-Fi. I sat on the bench outside, pulled out my phone, and connected. I opened a browser, searched for quitclaim deed reverse. The results weren't encouraging. A quitclaim deed is legally binding. Once signed, it's nearly impossible to undo unless you can prove fraud or coercion. And I couldn't. I'd signed it willingly. Stupidly, but willingly. I searched for property rights after deed transfer. More bad news. Once the deed was transferred, I had no legal claim to the house. I was essentially a guest, or a squatter, if they wanted to be technical about it. I searched for tenant rights without lease. Better. In my state, even without a written lease, I had some rights. They couldn't just throw me out. They'd have to give me notice. 30 days, minimum, maybe 60. But that didn't matter. The house was theirs. Eventually, I'd have to leave. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. I thought about calling a lawyer, but it was Christmas Eve. Nobody would answer. I thought about going back, apologizing, begging, but I didn't. Instead, I opened a new browser window and started searching for something else. I searched for my son's business. He ran a consulting firm downtown, something to do with marketing and branding. I'd never really understood it, but he made good money. Enough to afford the new SUV, the private school for his daughter, the trips to Cabo. I found his company website, read through it carefully. Then I searched for my daughter's name. She worked in real estate, had her own small agency. I found her business page, her social media profiles, her client reviews. I started taking notes. By the time the library's outdoor lights clicked off at 10, I had a list of names, contacts, businesses, relationships. I put my phone away and started walking home. Not home, the house. It wasn't mine anymore, but I still had my key. When I got back, it was almost 11. The driveway was empty. They'd all left. I unlocked the door quietly, stepped inside. The house was dark. The dining room table was cleared. The dishes were done. They'd even taken out the trash. I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening. Nothing. I walked upstairs to my bedroom. My things were still there. My bed, my clothes, my books. For now. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone again. I had 7 missed calls now. All from my son. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Instead, I opened my email and started typing. I wrote to people I hadn't talked to in years. Old colleagues, former neighbors, people who might remember something, might know something, might have kept records. I wrote carefully, politely, no accusations, just questions. I sent the emails and put my phone on the nightstand. I lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling. They thought I was weak, passive. Easy to push around. They thought wrong. That was the last honest night they'd ever have. I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. Every creak, every shift felt like an accusation. This place had been mine for 3 decades, and now it belonged to someone else. Someone who'd lied to me, someone I'd raised. At 6 in the morning, my phone started buzzing. I picked it up. My son's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. It stopped. Started again immediately. I turned the phone face down and got up. The house was cold. I turned up the thermostat and went to the kitchen. Made coffee. Stood at the window and watched the sun come up over the frost-covered lawn. My phone kept buzzing. Calls, texts, voicemails piling up. I ignored all of it. At 7, I sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop and started working. I opened the emails I'd sent the night before. 3 people had already responded. Tom Breslin, who'd sold me the house back in 1993, Linda Huang, who used to live next door before she moved to Oregon, and Jack Peterson, my old business partner before I retired. Tom's email was short. I remember the sale. Still have the files in storage. Let me know what you need. Linda's was longer. She asked how I was doing, said she'd heard my son had taken over the house, thought that was nice of me to pass it along. Then she asked if I needed anything. Jack's email was 1 sentence. Call me. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. What's going on? I told him. All of it. The dinner, the deed, the fall, the emails I'd found. He was quiet for a long time. You still have access to the house? He asked finally. For now. Get copies of everything, every document, every file, every piece of paper with your name on it. Get them out of there today. I was planning to. Good. And listen, I know a guy, a state attorney, handles stuff like this. You want his number? Yes. He gave it to me. I wrote it down. One more thing, Jack said. You signed that deed willingly, right? No gun to your head? No. But you didn't know what you were signing. I thought it was a tax form. Did he tell you it was a tax form? I thought back. Tried to remember exactly what my son had said. He said it was for estate planning. I assumed taxes. But he didn't say taxes. No. Good. That's something. Might not be fraud, but it's damn close. Talk to the lawyer and get your documents. I hung up and went upstairs. My office was small, just a converted bedroom with a desk and some filing cabinets. I started pulling files. Birth certificates, tax returns, mortgage documents, insurance policies, old bills, bank statements, 30 years of paperwork. I packed it all into cardboard boxes I found in the garage. It took me 3 hours. By the time I finished, I had 6 boxes stacked in the hallway. I carried them down one at a time, loaded them into my car. My phone was still buzzing. 15 missed calls now. I went back inside, grabbed my laptop, my external hard drive, a few personal items, photos, my father's watch, my mother's wedding ring. I took one last look around. Then I left. I drove to a storage facility on the edge of town, rented a unit, unloaded the boxes. It cost me $60 a month. I paid for 3 months in advance. When I was done, I sat in my car and called the attorney Jack had recommended. His name was David Orlin. He answered on the 3rd ring, sounded annoyed. This is David. Jack Peterson gave me your number. His tone changed. You a friend of Jack's? Old business partner. What do you need? I told him. Shorter version this time, just the facts. He listened without interrupting. Okay, he said when I finished. First question. Do you have a copy of the deed you signed? Email attachment. Send it to me. Second question. Did you receive any compensation for the transfer? No. Did your son promise you anything in exchange? No. Did he tell you what the document was? He said estate planning, but not specifically a deed transfer. No. Good. Come see me tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'm in the Riverside building downtown, 4th floor. Tomorrow's the day after Christmas. I know, I'll be there anyway. Bring everything you have, emails, documents, anything that shows a pattern of deception. Okay. One more thing. Don't talk to your son. Don't answer his calls. Don't engage. If he shows up at your door, don't let him in. The house is his now, legally. Then don't go back to the house. I paused. I still have things there. Then get them today, right now. And after that, stay away. You understand? Yes. See you tomorrow. He hung up. I sat there for a moment, staring at my phone. 23 missed calls now. I drove to a motel on the highway, the kind of place that rents by the week, no questions asked, paid cash for 7 days. The room was small and smelled like cigarettes, but it had a bed and a TV and a lock on the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally listened to the voicemails. The first few were from my son. His voice was tight, controlled. Dad, we need to talk. Call me back. Dad, This is getting ridiculous. Pick up the phone. Dad, I'm coming over. We need to discuss this like adults. Then my daughter. Dad, why are you being like this? We were just trying to help. Call me. Then my son again. Fine. Don't answer. But you need to understand, this is happening whether you like it or not. The movers are coming next week. You need to be out by then. I deleted the voicemails, opened my laptop, started searching. I searched for my son's business partners. Found 3. Looked them up on LinkedIn, Facebook, public records. One of them, a guy named Russell Kent, had a complaint filed against him 2 years ago. Something about misrepresenting a client's brand metrics. The case was settled out of court, but the record was still there. I kept digging. My daughter's real estate agency had 12 active agents. I looked up their sales records, their client reviews, their licensing status. One agent, Jennifer Pace, had her license suspended for 6 months last year. Failure to disclose material defects in a property sale. I made notes. Names, dates, connections. I wasn't sure what I was looking for yet, but I knew it was there. By 8 that night, I had a file. Digital and physical. Names, relationships, business dealings, debts, complaints, lawsuits. Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic, but enough to see the outlines of something. My son's consulting firm had 3 major clients. I found their names on his website, cross-referenced them with my daughter's real estate clients. 2 overlaps. One of those clients, a luxury car dealership, had recently bought property through my daughter's agency. The sale closed in August, 3 months after I signed the deed. Coincidence? Maybe. I kept looking. The dealership owner, a man named Gregory Voss, had a business partnership with my son-in-law. There it was, a connection. I leaned back in the motel chair, stared at the screen. They weren't just family. They were a network. Doing business together, leveraging relationships, passing money and favors back and forth. And I'd been in the way. The house wasn't about sentimentality or space. It was about liquidity. My son could sell it, use the money for his business, funnel it through my daughter's agency, keep everything in the family, clean, legal, smart. Except they'd lied to me, and that was a mistake. I opened a new document and started writing. A timeline. Every interaction, every email, every phone call, every meeting. I wrote for 3 hours. By the time I finished, it was past 11. My phone had stopped buzzing. I checked my messages. 47 missed calls. I smiled. Let them wait. The next morning, I was at David Orland's office at 8:45. The building was old, brick, 7 stories, with narrow windows and a lobby that smelled like floor wax. I took the elevator to the 4th floor, found his suite at the end of the hallway. The door was unlocked. No receptionist. Come in, a voice called from the back. I walked through to the office. David Orland was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with thinning hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He was wearing jeans and a sweater. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. You bring everything. I handed him the folder I'd put together. Copies of the deed, the emails, my timeline, the business connections I'd found. He started reading. He didn't say anything for 10 minutes. Just read, flipping pages, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. Finally, he looked up. Okay, he said. Here's the situation. The deed transfer is legal. You signed it, no coercion, no incapacity. That's a problem. I know. But, he tapped the folder. There's a pattern here. Misrepresentation, concealment, undue influence. Your son told you it was estate planning. He didn't specify it was a property transfer. That's not fraud, but it's close enough to make a case. What kind of case? Quiet title action. You'd be asking a court to invalidate the transfer based on mistake or misrepresentation. It's a long shot, but it's something. How long? 6 months. Maybe more. And it'll cost you. 15, maybe 20,000 in legal fees. I didn't have 20,000. He saw my face. There's another option, he said. What? Make them want to give it back. I stared at him. He leaned back in his chair. Look, I've seen this before. Family disputes, inheritance fights, all that. Most of them don't end in court. They end when one side realizes the fight isn't worth it. How do I make them realize that? You make their lives uncomfortable, legally, publicly. You use every tool you have to make them regret what they did. I don't want revenge, I said. Yes, you do, he said. And that's fine. But revenge doesn't have to be illegal. It just has to be effective. He pushed a piece of paper across the desk. Here's what you do. First, you file a complaint with the State Bar Association. Your son presented you with a legal document under false pretenses. That's an ethical violation, even if it's not fraud. It won't get the house back, but it'll start an investigation. He's not a lawyer. Doesn't matter. He acted as if he had legal authority. That's enough. Okay. Second, you file a complaint with your daughter's real estate licensing board. She participated in the scheme. She knew you were being deceived. That's a violation of fiduciary duty. Will they revoke her license? Probably not, but they'll investigate. And during an investigation, she can't close deals. Her business will stall. I nodded slowly. Third, he said, you contact every business partner your son has. You don't accuse anyone of anything, you just ask questions. Tell them you're trying to understand how your son acquired property, and you want to make sure everything was above board. You're just a concerned father. That'll make them nervous? Exactly. What if they don't care? They will, because you're going to make sure those questions get asked in public. You're going to leave reviews, post on social media, attend community meetings. You're going to be visible. I'm not trying to ruin them. He looked at me over his glasses. Yes, you are. I didn't argue. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street below. Here's the thing about family, he said. We let them get away with things we'd never tolerate from strangers. We forgive, we forget, we move on. And sometimes that's good. But sometimes it's just weakness. He turned back to me. Your son took your house. Your daughter helped him do it. They humiliated you in front of your family. They planned it. They executed it. And now they're calling you, pretending to be concerned, trying to smooth it over. Yes, so don't let them. I left his office an hour later with a plan. Step 1, file complaints. Step 2, make contact. Step 3, stay visible. I went back to the motel, sat down with my laptop, and started writing. The complaint to the state bar was short. I outlined the facts, attached copies of the emails, described how my son had presented the document. I didn't editorialize. I just stated what happened. I submitted it online. The complaint to the real estate licensing board was longer. I had to detail my daughter's involvement, show how she'd participated in the deception, explain why it mattered. I submitted that too. Then I opened a new email and started writing to my son's business partners. I kept it simple, polite, friendly. Hi, my name is Robert Hayes. I'm the father of your business partner, and I'm trying to understand some recent property transactions involving my family. I'd appreciate a few minutes of your time to discuss. I sent it to all 3 partners. Then I opened Facebook. I hadn't posted in years. My profile was just a name and a picture, nothing more. I wrote a new post. After 32 years, I've lost my home. Not to a bank, not to a fire, to my own children, who convinced me to sign papers I didn't understand. If you're a parent, please be careful. Family isn't always what you think it is. I posted it publicly. Then I waited. Within an hour, I had 40 responses. Friends from decades ago, people I'd worked with, neighbors I hadn't talked to in years. What happened? Are you okay? Do you need help? I responded to each one, told them the story, kept it factual. By the end of the day, my post had been shared 12 times. My phone started buzzing again. Not my son this time. Other people, a reporter from the local newspaper, a woman from a seniors advocacy group, a lawyer offering pro bono help. I answered some of the calls, took notes. At 6 that evening, my son finally called again. I answered. Dad. His voice was different now, strained. What the hell are you doing? I'm not doing anything. You posted on Facebook. You're telling people we stole your house. I didn't say that. You implied it. I told the truth. The truth is that we were trying to help you. You're twisting this into something it's not. I signed a deed, I said. You told me it was estate planning. It wasn't. That's the truth? You're embarrassing yourself. And us. I know. Take down the post. No. Dad? I filed a complaint with the state bar, I said, and with the real estate licensing board. I've also contacted your business partners. I want them to know what kind of people they're working with. Silence. You're making a mistake, he said finally. Maybe. We can still fix this. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Why? What do you want? You want the house back? Fine. We'll talk about it. Just stop this. I don't want to talk. Then what do you want? I thought about it. I want you to wake up every morning wondering what I'm going to do next. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I sat there for a long time, staring at the phone. Then I opened my laptop and kept working. 3 days later, I got a call from Russell Kent. He was one of my son's business partners, the one with the complaint in his record. Mr. Hayes? Yes. This is Russell Kent. I got your email. Thank you for calling. I want to be very clear about something. Your son and I have a professional relationship, that's all. I don't know anything about your family situation, and I don't want to be involved. I understand. Good. So please don't contact me again. He hung up. I smiled. He was scared. That meant my son had called him first, warned him, tried to smooth things over, and it hadn't worked. The next day, I got an email from Jennifer Pace, the agent in my daughter's office who'd had her license suspended. Mr. Hayes, I'm very sorry for what happened to you. I'd like to talk if you have time. Please call me. I called her. She answered immediately. Thank you for calling back. What do you want to talk about? Your daughter. Her voice was quiet, careful. I worked for her for 3 years. I left last month. Why? Because she's not honest. She cuts corners. She tells clients what they want to hear, not what's true. Did she do something illegal? No, just unethical. And when I pushed back, she made my life hell. She gave my clients to other agents. She excluded me from meetings. She made sure I knew I wasn't welcome. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm better off. But I wanted you to know. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. She deserves it. I'm not trying to hurt her. Yes, you are, Jennifer said, and that's okay. Sometimes people need to be hurt. She hung up. I sat with that for a while. Then I opened my laptop and started writing again. I found the Facebook pages for my son's major clients, left polite professional reviews. I recently learned that this company does business with a firm that may have ethical concerns. I'd encourage due diligence before entering into contracts. Nothing accusatory, nothing false, just enough to plant doubt. I did the same for my daughter's agency. Be careful when working with this agency. I've had personal experience that suggests a lack of transparency. Within 2 days, both reviews were flagged and removed, but people had seen them. I started getting messages, people asking what happened, people offering support. I responded to each one, told my story, kept it simple, and I waited. On the 4th day, my daughter called. I answered. Dad, please, you have to stop this. Stop what? You know what? The complaints, the reviews, the Facebook posts, it's affecting my business. Good. Good? Dad, I have a family to support. I have employees. You're hurting innocent people. You took my house. We didn't take anything. You gave it to us. You lied to me. We simplified a complicated situation. That's all. By lying. Her voice changed. Harder now. Fine. You want to play it this way? Go ahead, but you're not getting the house back, and you're just making yourself look bitter and pathetic. I know. Then why are you doing this? Because I can. She hung up. I stared at the phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. 2 days later, I got a letter from a law firm representing my son. It was a cease and desist. They wanted me to stop posting on social media, stop contacting their clients, stop filing complaints. They threatened a defamation lawsuit if I continued. I called David Orlin. They sent me a cease and desist. Let me see it. I took a picture, emailed it to him. He called back 10 minutes later. It's garbage. They're bluffing. Everything you've posted is true, right? Yes. Then they have no case. Ignore it. They said they'll sue. Let them. It'll cost them $50,000 to file, and they'll lose. You're sure? I'm sure. Keep going. I kept going. I started attending city council meetings, the kind where local businesses present proposals, where zoning changes are discussed. My son's consulting firm was working with a developer who wanted to build a new shopping complex on the north side of town. It was a big deal. 6 months of planning, presentations, community outreach. I showed up to the meeting, sat in the back row. When the public comment period opened, I stood up. My name is Robert Hayes. I'm a longtime resident of this community. I have a question about the consulting firm working on this project. The room went quiet. I want to know if the city council has done any background checks on the principals of this firm. Specifically, I want to know if they're aware of any ethical complaints that have been filed. My son was sitting in the front row. I saw his shoulders tense. Mr. Hayes, the council president said, do you have specific information to share? I have filed a complaint with the State Bar Association regarding misrepresentation and undue influence. I believe the public has a right to know who they're doing business with. The room erupted, people talking, whispering, turning to look at my son. The council president banged his gavel. Mr. Hayes, this is not the appropriate forum for personal grievances. It's not personal, I said. It's a matter of public record. Sit down, please. I sat down. The meeting continued, but the damage was done. Afterward, a reporter approached me. Mr. Hayes, I'm Jessica Lynn from the Gazette. Can I ask you a few questions? Sure. What's this about a complaint? I told her. The whole story. The deed, the deception, the humiliation. She took notes. Can I quote you? Yes. And you're willing to go on record? Yes. She smiled. This is going to be a hell of a story. The article came out 3 days later, front page, local section. Father alleges deception in property transfer. It was fair, balanced. It included my son's response, which was a carefully worded denial. But it didn't matter. The story was out. And people were talking. My son's consulting firm lost the developer contract. My daughter's real estate agency lost 2 major clients. And I kept going. I started receiving threats. Not from my son or daughter. They were too smart for that. From my son-in-law. The first message came at 2 a.m, a text. You're destroying this family. Stop now or you'll regret it. I didn't respond. The second message came the next day. I know where you're staying. The motel on Highway 9, room 37. You think you're safe? I called David Orlin. He's threatening you? Yes. Good. Save the messages. Screenshot everything. If he shows up, call the police immediately. He won't show up. Probably not. But if he does, it's evidence. It shows they're panicking. He was right. They were panicking. I could see it in the messages, the calls, the desperate attempts to get me to stop. But I didn't stop. I expanded. I found my son's largest client, a tech company looking to rebrand. They'd hired his firm 6 months ago, paid a retainer of $80,000. I called the CEO. Her name was Amanda Price. She agreed to meet me for coffee. We met at a place downtown, a quiet cafe with good light and terrible pastries. She was in her 40s, sharp, professional. She shook my hand firmly. Mr. Hayes, I have to admit, I'm curious why you wanted to meet. I wanted to talk to you about the firm you hired. I figured. Go ahead. I told her the story, not the emotional parts, just the facts, the deed, the misrepresentation, the pattern of behavior. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sipped her coffee, thinking. You're saying your son is dishonest. I'm saying he's willing to deceive people when it benefits him. And you think that reflects on his professional work? I think it reflects on his character. She nodded slowly. I appreciate you telling me this. But I have to be honest, Mr. Hayes. What he did to you, if it's true, is awful. But it's also personal. I can't make business decisions based on family drama. I understand. That said, she paused, I'll keep an eye on things. If I see any signs of dishonesty in his work, I'll act on it. That's all I'm asking. She stood up, shook my hand again. Good luck, Mr. Hayes. I left the cafe and walked back to my car. It wasn't a win, but it wasn't a loss either. I'd planted doubt. And doubt spreads. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Hayes? Yes. This is Detective Mark Corrigan, City Police. I need to ask you a few questions. My stomach dropped. About what? About some harassment complaints. Your son and daughter have filed reports claiming you've been threatening them, following them, interfering with their businesses. That's not true. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying we have to investigate. Can you come down to the station tomorrow? Am I being charged with anything? No. We just want to talk. I'll bring my lawyer. That's your right. I called David Orlin as soon as I hung up. They're trying to flip this on you, he said. Make you the bad guy. Don't worry. We'll handle it. The next morning, we met at the police station. Detective Corrigan was older, gray-haired, tired-looking. He led us into a small interview room. Mr. Hayes, I want to be clear. You're not under arrest. This is just a conversation. I understand. Your son claims you've been harassing him, posting false information online, contacting his clients, showing up at his business meetings. Is that true? I've posted truthful information. I've contacted people to ask questions, and I attended a public city council meeting. None of that is harassment. What about the social media posts? David leaned forward. Detective, my client has a First Amendment right to speak about his own experiences. Nothing he's posted is false or defamatory. What about the business interference? Asking questions is not interference. If his son's clients choose to end their contracts, that's their decision. Corrigan sighed. Look, I get it. Family stuff is messy. But you need to be careful, Mr. Hayes. There's a line between free speech and harassment. Don't cross it. I won't. Good, because if I have to come back to this, it won't be just a conversation. We left the station. David walked me to my car. You okay? Yeah. They're trying to scare you. Don't let them. I won't. But I was scared. Not of the police. I hadn't done anything illegal. I was scared that I'd become the kind of person who could do this, who could systematically dismantle his own children's lives without hesitation. I drove back to the motel, sat on the bed, stared at the wall. My phone buzzed. A message from my grandson, the one who'd laughed when I fell. Grandpa, please stop. You're hurting everyone. This isn't you. I stared at the message for a long time. He was right. This wasn't me. I'd spent my whole life being reasonable, forgiving, patient, and where had it gotten me? I deleted the message, opened my laptop, kept working. 2 weeks after the police interview, my daughter's real estate license was suspended, not permanently, just for 90 days, pending a full investigation. But 90 days was enough. Her business couldn't survive 3 months without her. The other agents would leave, take their clients with them. The office would close. I found out from a message on Facebook, someone I didn't know, congratulating me. I heard about your daughter. Good for you. She had it coming. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not yet. I started digging deeper into my son's business. His consulting firm had a website, but it didn't list many details. Just vague descriptions of services, a few client logos, a contact form. I searched for the company's registration with the state. Found it. Cross-referenced the listed address. It was a mailbox at a UPS store. Not unusual for a small business, but interesting. I kept looking. I found the company's tax filings. Public record, available online if you knew where to look. The revenue numbers didn't match what my son had told me. He'd claimed his business brought in $500,000 a year. The tax records showed $80,000. Either he was lying about his success, or he wasn't reporting all his income. I made a note. Then I looked into his clients. One of them, a luxury car dealership, had recently been investigated for odometer fraud. The case was settled quietly, no criminal charges. But my son's firm had done their branding campaign right after the settlement. Another client, a boutique hotel chain, had been cited for health code violations at 3 of their properties. My son's firm had rebranded them as rustic and authentic. Nothing illegal, but a pattern. He worked with businesses that had problems, helped them bury those problems under new marketing. I started compiling evidence, screenshots, articles, public records, and then I sent it to the reporter who'd written the first story, Jessica Lynn. She called me an hour later. Mr. Hayes, this is good stuff, really good, but I need to be careful. If I publish this, your son could sue. Everything I sent you is public record. I know, but connecting the dots the way you have, that's interpretation. I need to verify everything independently. How long will that take? A week, maybe 2? Okay. And Mr. Hayes? Yes? You're playing a dangerous game. You know that, right? I know. She hung up. I sat back, closed my eyes. I thought about my son when he was 10 years old, the way he used to follow me around the house, asking questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Where do birds go in winter? How does a car engine work? I'd answered every question, patiently, carefully. I wondered when he'd stopped asking questions, when he'd started thinking he had all the answers. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. Dad, please. You've made your point. Let's talk. In person. Just you and me. I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to say yes, to sit down, to listen, to find a way back. But I didn't trust her. I texted back, no. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She called again. I turned off my phone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the look on my daughter's face when my son told me to leave, the way she'd nodded, the coldness in her eyes. I got up, turned on the light, sat at the small desk in the motel room. I pulled out a piece of paper and started writing. Not a plan, not evidence, just thoughts. I never wanted to be this person, and I wanted to be the dad who forgave, who understood, who made peace, but they didn't give me that option. They took something from me. Not just the house, my dignity, my trust, my belief that family meant something. And now I'm taking something back. Not the house. I'll never get that back. But their certainty, their confidence, their belief that they could do this without consequences. I'm taking that. I folded the paper, put it in my wallet. The next morning, I got a call from Tom Breslin, the man who'd sold me the house 32 years ago. Robert, I found something. What? When I sold you the house, there was a clause in the deed. A restriction? I'd forgotten about it until I went through the old files. What kind of restriction? The property can't be transferred without the original buyer's consent for the first 50 years. It was a weird clause, something the previous owner insisted on. I didn't think it mattered because you'd own it long past 50 years. My heart started pounding. Does that mean the transfer to my son is invalid? Potentially. If you didn't give explicit written consent to the transfer, it might violate the restriction. I didn't give written consent. I didn't even know it was a transfer. Then you might have a case. I called David Orlin immediately. He told me to come to his office. I drove there, breaking every speed limit. He read the document Tom had sent over. This is gold, he said. If this restriction is enforceable, the transfer is void. The house is still legally yours. Can we file something? We can file a quiet title action today. With this restriction, we have a real argument. How long? Still months, but we have a much better chance now. I sat back, breathed. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope, but David was looking at me carefully. Robert, you need to be prepared for something. What? Even if we win, even if the house goes back to you, your relationship with your kids is over, you know that, right? I know. And you're okay with that? I thought about it. Yes, he nodded. Then let's get started. We filed the paperwork that afternoon, and then I waited. The quiet title action took 3 weeks to reach my son. He called me as soon as he was served. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Dad, what the hell is this? You're suing me after everything we've tried to do for you? This is insane. Call me back. We need to talk about this. I deleted the voicemail. The next day, he showed up at the motel. I was sitting in my room, working on my laptop, when I heard the knock. Dad, I know you're in there. Open the door. I didn't move. Dad, please, we need to talk. I stayed silent. Fine. I'm not leaving until you open this door. I waited. 10 minutes passed. Then I heard footsteps walking away. I looked out the window. He was gone. But an hour later, he was back, with my daughter this time. They knocked together. Dad, my daughter called. Please, let's just talk. Like adults. I opened the door. They both looked startled, like they hadn't expected me to actually answer. You have 5 minutes, I said. My son stepped forward. Can we come in? No, he sighed. Fine. Dad, this lawsuit is ridiculous. That restriction is from 1993. It's not enforceable. My lawyer thinks it is. Your lawyer is milking you for fees. This is a waste of time and money. It's my time, my money. My daughter spoke up. Dad, we're family. Why are we doing this? Why can't we just sit down and work this out? Because you lied to me. We didn't lie. We simplified. You told me it was estate planning. It was. No, it was a property transfer, and you knew I didn't understand that. My son's face hardened. You're embarrassing yourself, and us. You're an old man throwing a tantrum because you didn't read the paperwork. Maybe. So drop the lawsuit. Take down the Facebook posts. Stop calling our clients. And we'll talk about giving you some money for the house. I don't want money. Then what do you want? I looked at him. Really looked at him. He was my son. I'd taught him to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to tie a tie. I'd been there for every birthday, every graduation, every milestone. And he'd taken the one thing I had left and convinced me to hand it over. I want you to lose, I said. His face went pale. You want us to lose? Yes. Why? Because you need to learn that actions have consequences, that you can't just take what you want and expect everyone to forgive you. My daughter's eyes filled with tears. Dad, please. You're destroying us. Good. I closed the door, locked it, listened to them argue outside for a few minutes, then leave. I sat down on the bed, hands shaking. I'd crossed a line, I knew it, and I didn't care. The next week, Jessica Lynn's article came out. It was bigger than the first one. Front page again, but this time with photos, interviews, documents. Local consultants' business practices questioned. She'd done her homework. She'd found the same patterns I had. The questionable clients, the unreported income, the mismatches in tax filings. She'd also interviewed some of my son's former employees. One of them, a woman named Kelly Brooks, said my son had pressured her to lie to clients about campaign results. Another, a man named Eric Daniels, said my son had billed clients for work that was never done. The article didn't accuse my son of crimes, but it raised questions, and questions were enough. Within 3 days, my son's consulting firm lost its 2 remaining major clients. Within a week, he'd closed the business. I found out from a Facebook post, Not from him, from someone else. Looks like karma caught up with Hayes Consulting. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, just emptiness. My daughter's real estate agency closed a week after that. The other agents had already left, and without her license, there was no business to run. She posted a goodbye message on the agency's website. After many wonderful years serving this community, we're closing our doors. Thank you to all our clients and friends. No mention of why, no acknowledgement of what had happened, just a clean, polite lie. I started getting messages from people I didn't know. Some were supportive. You did the right thing. Family should never betray family. Some were critical. You destroyed your own children. What kind of father does that? I didn't respond to any of them. I just kept moving forward. David Orland called with an update on the quiet title action. They filed a response. They're arguing the restriction isn't enforceable because it's too old, and because you effectively waived it by signing the deed. Can they win with that argument? Maybe, but we have a counterclaim. We're arguing you were misled about the nature of the document, which means your signature was obtained under false pretenses. When's the hearing? 2 months? Okay. Robert, I need to ask you something. What? If you win, what are you going to do with the house? I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. Because you need to think about it. You can't live there, not after all this. Why not? Because they'll make your life hell. They'll contest every utility bill, every property tax payment, every repair. They'll make sure you can't have a moment of peace. So I should sell it. Probably. I thought about that. The house wasn't really the point anymore. It never had been. The point was proving they couldn't just take things from me. The point was making them pay. I'll sell it, I said, if I win. Good, I'll start looking into buyers. I hung up, sat in the motel room, staring at the wall. I thought about my wife. She died 6 years ago, cancer, quick and brutal. She wouldn't have recognized me now. She'd always been the forgiving one, the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over arguments and found compromises. She would have told me to let it go, but she wasn't here, and I was tired of letting things go. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday in early March. I wore a suit I hadn't touched in 5 years. It was too big now. I'd lost weight. David met me outside the courthouse. You ready? Yes. Remember, let me do the talking. If the judge asks you a direct question, answer it simply. Don't editorialize, don't get emotional. I won't. We went inside. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, with high windows that let in cold morning light. My son and daughter were already there, sitting with their lawyer. A woman in her 50s, expensive suit, sharp eyes. They didn't look at me. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Be seated. The hearing started. David presented our case first. He was calm, methodical, laying out the facts. The deed restriction, the misrepresentation, the emails showing premeditation. The judge listened without expression. Then my son's lawyer stood up. She argued that the restriction was unenforceable, that it had been in place for over 30 years and had never been mentioned, that I had waived it by signing the deed, regardless of whether I understood what I was signing. Your Honor, Mr. Hayes is a competent adult. He signed a legal document. He can't claim he didn't understand it just because he regrets it now. The judge looked at me. Mr. Hayes, did anyone force you to sign the deed? No, Your Honor. Did anyone threaten you? No. Did you read the document before signing it? I paused. No. Why not? Because I trusted my son. The judge nodded slowly. That's not a legal defense, Mr. Hayes. Trust is not the same as competence. My stomach dropped. David stood up quickly. Your Honor, the issue isn't whether Mr. Hayes was competent. The issue is whether he was misled. The evidence shows that his son presented this document as an estate planning form, not a property transfer. That's misrepresentation. Does the document say estate planning? No, but does the email from Mr. Hayes' son say estate planning? David hesitated. Yes. And does the document itself clearly state that it's a deed transfer? Yes. Then where's the misrepresentation? In the context, Your Honor, in the relationship, in the pattern of behavior. The judge looked at my son. Mr. Hayes, did you tell your father this was a deed transfer? My son stood up. I told him it was estate planning, which it was. I was planning for the future of the family estate. Did you tell him he was transferring ownership of the house to you? I assumed he understood that. That's not what I asked. My son hesitated. No, Your Honor, I didn't explicitly say that. The judge leaned back. So you presented a legal document to your father, told him it was for estate planning, but didn't clarify that it was a complete transfer of ownership. I didn't think I needed to. It's all spelled out in the document. Which he didn't read. That's his responsibility. The judge was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at both lawyers. I'm going to take this under advisement. I'll issue a written ruling within 30 days. The hearing ended. We stood, filed out. Outside the courthouse, David pulled me aside. It could go either way. I know. She's right that you should have read the document, but she also sees that your son was deliberately vague. So we wait. We wait. I went back to the motel. The room felt smaller every day, the walls closing in. I started taking long walks, hours at a time, through the neighborhoods I used to know, past the houses I used to visit, the streets I used to drive. Everything looked different now. Or maybe I was different. One afternoon, I walked past my old house. There was a for sale sign in the yard. I stopped, stared at it. My son was selling it. Not waiting for the hearing, not waiting for the judge's ruling, just selling it. I pulled out my phone, called David. They're selling the house. Can they do that? Legally? Yes, they own it, for now. But if we win, the sale will be voided, but that'll be another legal fight, another few months. I hung up, stood there looking at the house. It looked the same. Same shutters, same door, same mailbox. But it wasn't mine anymore. Maybe it never really had been. I kept walking. That night, I got a message from my grandson. Grandpa, I'm sorry for what happened. I know you're angry, but please, can we talk? Just for a few minutes? I stared at the message. He'd laughed when I fell, but he was also just a kid, 16 years old, caught in the middle of something he didn't create. I called him. He answered immediately. Grandpa? Yeah. Thank you for calling. What do you want to talk about? I wanted to say I'm sorry for laughing, for not standing up for you. I didn't know what to do. It's okay. No, it's not. What they did was wrong. I know that now. Do you? Yes. I talked to my mom about it. She said you were overreacting, but I don't think you are. I think they screwed you over. I didn't say anything. Grandpa, are you going to keep fighting them? Yes. Even if it destroys the family. The family's already destroyed. He was quiet for a moment. I don't want to lose you, he said. You're not losing me. It feels like I am. I'm still here. I'm just not the person you thought I was. Who are you? I thought about that. I'm someone who doesn't forgive easily anymore. He didn't say anything. I have to go, I said. Okay. Grandpa? Yeah? Good luck. I hung up, sat in the dark motel room, thought about the kind of man I used to be, the kind who forgave, who moved on, who chose peace over conflict. That man was gone, and I wasn't sure I missed him. The judge's ruling came on a Thursday. David called me at 10 in the morning. We won. I didn't say anything. Robert, did you hear me? We won. The judge ruled that the deed restriction is enforceable and that the transfer violated it. The house is yours again. What happens now? The deed transfer is voided. Your son has to vacate any claim to the property. If he's already sold it, that sale is invalid. And if he fights it, he can appeal, but it'll take months and he'll probably lose. Okay. Robert, this is good news. Why don't you sound happy? I don't know. He was quiet for a moment. Come to my office. We need to talk about next steps. I drove to his office. He was waiting with paperwork. The house is yours, but you need to decide what to do with it. If you keep it, you'll have to deal with your son trying to fight you every step of the way. If you sell it, you can walk away clean. I want to sell it. Good. I'll connect you with a realtor. Not my daughter's agency. He smiled faintly. No, not them. He handed me a name. A woman I didn't know. She's good. Fair. She'll get you a decent price. How long? A month, maybe 2. The market's decent right now. I took the paper. There's something else, David said. What? Your son is threatening to sue you for defamation, emotional distress, business interference. Can he win? No. Everything you did was legal, but he can make it expensive and time-consuming. Let him try, David nodded. I'll handle it. I left his office and drove to the house. The for sale sign was still there. I parked in the driveway, got out, walked to the front door, used my key. The house was empty. All the furniture was gone. The pictures, the curtains, the rugs, everything. They'd stripped it. I walked through the rooms, slowly. The living room where my kids used to play, the kitchen where my wife used to cook, the bedroom where we'd slept for 30 years. All empty. I stood in the middle of the living room, listening to the silence. This was what winning felt like. Cold, hollow, final. I pulled out my phone and called the realtor David had recommended. She answered on the second ring. "This is Susan." "My name is Robert Hayes. David Orland gave me your number." "Oh, yes. He told me you might call. You have a property to sell?" "Yes." "When can I see it?" "Now, if you want." She came by an hour later, walked through the house, taking notes, measuring rooms. "It's in good shape, Al," she said. "Needs some cosmetic work, but the bones are solid. I think we can list it for $450, maybe $475. "How fast can you sell it?" "In this market? A month, maybe less." "Do it." She nodded. "I'll draw up the paperwork." 2 weeks later, the house sold. A young couple with a baby. They were excited, grateful, full of plans. They didn't know the history. I didn't tell them. The closing was quick. I signed the papers, took the check, walked out. I deposited the check that afternoon. $460,000. Minus David's fees, minus the realtor's commission, I walked away with just over $400,000. More money than I'd ever had at one time, and I felt nothing. I went back to the motel, sat on the bed, stared at the wall. My phone buzzed. A text from my son. "Congratulations. You won. I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Another text. "You destroyed everything. Our business, our reputation, our family. Was it worth it?" I thought about that. "Was it worth it?" I typed back. "Yes." He didn't respond. I put the phone down, lay back on the bed, closed my eyes, thought about what came next. I could move, start over somewhere new, find a small house, a quiet place, live out the rest of my life in peace. But I didn't want peace, not yet. I still had one more thing to do. I sat up, opened my laptop, started searching. I found what I was looking for in 20 minutes, a community event, a fundraiser for the local children's hospital. My son was listed as one of the sponsors. It was happening next week. I bought a ticket. The fundraiser was at the Riverside Hotel, a big ballroom with chandeliers and round tables covered in white cloth. I arrived early, wearing the same suit I'd worn to court. I checked in at the registration table, got my name tag, walked inside. The room was already filling up. Local business owners, city council members, people with money and influence. I recognized some of them. I found a table in the back, sat down, waited. My son arrived at 7. He was wearing an expensive suit, his hair freshly cut, his smile wide and warm. He worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, laughing, making small talk. My daughter was with him. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. They didn't see me, not at first. The program started at 7:30. Speeches, thank yous, a video about the children's hospital. My son was introduced as one of the evening's sponsors. He stood up, walked to the podium, smiled at the crowd. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This hospital has done incredible work for our community, and I'm honored to support it." He talked for 5 minutes. Smooth, polished, rehearsed. The crowd applauded when he finished. He sat down, looking pleased with himself. Then the MC invited people to share their own stories about the hospital. I stood up, walked to the microphone. The room went quiet. My son saw me. His face went pale. "Good evening," I said. "My name is Robert Hayes. Some of you might know me. Some of you might have read about me in the newspaper." People shifted in their seats. "I want to tell you a story about family, about trust, about what happens when the people you love decide you're not worth their honesty." My son stood up. "Dad, don't do this." I ignored him. 6 months ago, my son convinced me to sign a legal document. He told me it was for estate planning. It wasn't. It was a deed transfer. He took my house. The room was silent now. I tried to handle it quietly. I tried to talk to him, to reason with him, but he didn't want to talk. He wanted me to disappear. My daughter stood up. "Dad, please, stop." So I fought back. I filed complaints. I contacted his clients. I made his life uncomfortable, and I won. The court gave me my house back. My son started walking toward me. "But here's the thing," I said. "Winning didn't make me feel better. It didn't fix what was broken. It just showed me who my children really are." He reached the stage. "Get off the stage, Dad." I looked at him. "You're a liar," I said. "You're dishonest. You're willing to hurt people to get what you want. And everyone in this room should know that." He grabbed my arm. "Get off." I pulled away. He grabbed me harder. I shoved him. He stumbled back, off balance. The room erupted. People standing, shouting, phones out, recording. Security rushed toward us. My son lunged at me. I sidestepped. He fell, hit the stage hard. The crowd gasped. Security grabbed both of us, pulled us apart. "He assaulted me," my son shouted. "You all saw it." I didn't say anything. They dragged us out of the ballroom into a back hallway. A security guard held me against the wall. "Stay here." My son was across the hall, breathing hard, his face red. "You're insane," he said. "You're a bitter old man who can't accept that his kids grew up and moved on." "I accept it," I said. "I just want everyone to know what you are." "What I am? What about what you are? You destroyed my business. You ruined my reputation. You humiliated me in front of the whole city." "Good." He stared at me. "You really hate me." "Yes." His face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the boy he used to be, the one who asked questions, the one who followed me around. Then it was gone. He straightened up, wiped his face. "Fine. You win. You got what you wanted." "Not yet." "What else could you possibly want?" I looked at him. "I want you to remember this moment for the rest of your life. I want you to remember that you had a father who loved you, who would have done anything for you, and you threw it away for a house." He didn't say anything. The security guard stepped between us. "Both of you need to leave, now." I walked out, didn't look back. Outside, the night was cold and clear. I stood on the sidewalk, breathing hard. My phone buzzed. A message from Jessica Lynn. "I'm here. I saw what happened. Are you okay?" I didn't respond. I started walking. Down the street, past the shops and restaurants, past the people laughing and talking and living their lives. I walked until I reached the river, stood on the bridge looking down at the water. I thought about my wife, about the life we'd built, about the children we'd raised. All of it was gone now. Not just the house, everything. And I'd done it. I'd burned it all down. Because they'd taken something from me and I couldn't let it go. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through the messages, the missed calls, the voicemails. 47 missed calls from that first night. Now there were hundreds. From my son, my daughter, my grandson, people I didn't know, reporters, lawyers, strangers, everyone wanting something. I turned off the phone, threw it in the river, watched it sink. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't go back. There was nothing left to go back to, just ruins, and I was the one who'd made them.